So welcome back to another episode of FOMO or Pass. I'm joined with Brian Evans, and today we'll be talking to BackedBy. The premise of this show is to invite early stage projects to come on board and pitch us their idea, their new project, and Dax from BackedBy is here to do that. Welcome, Dax.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. BackedBy, let me tell you about what it is. I don't know how so we're all familiar with Web3. I think one thing that Web3 is sorely missing is recurring payment rails. In traditional finance, recurring payments are ubiquitous. You know, they're projected to be $1.5 trillion, I think, in recurring payments. COVID accelerated this, but as a part of these, you got your cable and your subscription for life, basically. And part of that is what's known as a passion economy, or as a creator economy. That is podcasters like yourselves, streamers, YouTubers, models, basically anybody who's selling their passion, their art to their fans. Patreon is a great example of this. There's 200 million, I think, creators in the world right now, and that's growing constantly. The other side of this, that's the bare bones of what we're building, but there's a deeper meaning to it for Web3, I think. And that is that financial censorship, payment processors, banks, these entities that exist currently as middlemen between you and your fans, are exerting more and more control over how we conduct ourselves online. And the best example I can give of this is Twitter and Elon Musk. You know, we're all familiar with Twitter and Elon Musk's purchasing of Twitter for $44 billion to protect the sanctity of expression and communication between people on the globe. At BackedBy, our mission is similar, but for Web3. We built a payment rails, a recurring subscription payment rails, so that anybody can use Web3 to crowdfund, to fund their podcast, to fund their art, to fund their expression from their fans directly. So you can set up whatever you want. It's exactly like Patreon, but it's on Polygon. It's on the blockchain. You set up whatever you want, and you own that audience for the rest of time, you know, for the rest of the blockchain. There's no more dealing with getting deplatformed, getting censored. You don't have to worry. I'm a content creator. I know you guys are content creators. I don't know if this happens to you, but this happens to so many people in the content creation space, where they wake up every day afraid that they've done something wrong, or that they've stepped on the wrong toes, or a joke that they made didn't get understood correctly, and their whole business is wiped out. This is what we want. We want to return the power of owning your business, of owning your audience to creators, where it belongs. Honestly, creators are spending 10% of their gross of their art, 10% of their revenue, just for web hosting. I think it's egregious. We think it's egregious. So we built BackedBy to give Web3 recurring payment rails in a way that is not censorable, not revocable, in a way that you can truly own. So I think that's the overall. And it's part of an existential, it's part of this ideological push for what the purpose of Web3 is. Bringing it to the masses, bringing it to people who didn't really have a use case for Web3 before this. I think everybody's used to monkey JPEGs and gambling on speculative coins with meme names, but this is BackedBy is a real utility for the web, something that for Web3, something that I don't think exists in a way that's easy to explain to people right now. So I think it's great what these guys have built. I'm not as good at programming as the guys who built it, but it's really incredible what they've built, and I hope people give it a look, because it's a big step from the Web 2 world, where corporations own your data, to Web 3, where you own your data.
So you're basically, the best way to think about it is your project BackedBy is a decentralized version of Patreon, since you mentioned them couple times. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. That's our first step. So we're going to grow because that's a simple use case of it. We're going to grow from there into crowdfunding, kickstarting, monetized messaging, charitable giving, which is like 600, I don't know, 600 billion a year, 300 billion a year industry or something like that, into actual B2C subscriptions. But yeah, Patreon's step number one.
By the way, you can share your screen if you wanted to.
I don't think I want to. I appreciate the offer, but I haven't had enough time this morning to give it, the old, oh God, is this safe on the screen?
So, yeah. And so, I'm really familiar with the whole merchant processing business, and I was between SaaS that I've had and e-commerce, and the subscription game is difficult. You have to maintain certain ratios in the traditional world of chargebacks and things like that. So it is a good use case. I guess the question is how does it work? So, on one hand, is it these smart contracts that authorize the pull out of your wallet every month? Is it a new Polygon version of an EIP protocol? You don't have to give me technicals, but what's the general idea of how it works?
Yeah, the general idea of how it works is they're authorized to pull out of your wallet every month. We've got nodes running subscription upkeep elements of the contract, which can be run by anyone. So the overall theme when we were developing, or the guiding principle was make sure that nothing can turn this off for any reason. Anybody can run their own upkeeps. We have Chainlink keepers as backup running the subscription refill nodes. But yeah, we have also looked at the EIP, the new EIPs that you're describing.
Because I've heard of people running this, but I've heard of this concept before, but I haven't actually seen anyone doing it. And I guess the risk is always they just pull the funds out of their wallet, that kind of thing. Is there any way to stop that? Or
they could do that with a credit card too. They can turn off their credit card. We want to give supporters access, control over their funds. Locking it in something like a vesting schedule smart contract, that's a bit out of the scope, because this is like, I want to support my favorite podcaster until I don't want to anymore. But as long as people can control, we made it composable. So if you want to have a subscription model that's based on, I don't know, SafeMoon or any ERC20 token, you can implement that as well. It's very plug and play.
And I think security risks are going to be the next thing people think about. Who built it, I guess, is the question. You mentioned the guys that built it. Have you audited it and that kind of stuff?
Yes, it's audited by Certec.
Okay, they're the top one, I think.
They're the top ones. We've got a combined total of dev hours is probably 60 years in the team. One of our blockchain engineers, a big security guy on his in his day job, but we also got it audited by Certic, because obviously that's the most important thing. I think that's the most important thing in crypto in general right now, is the rugs and the scams have really given the entire industry a black eye. So that was a big deal for us.
So which tokens do you currently support? You say you're on Polygon. Is it just Matic, ETH, all ERC20 tokens?
So if you look at it from the point of view of a creator, a creator, a podcaster, somebody who knows nothing about Web3, they can't pay their rent in Matic. Like, you say crypto and they think, oh God, so today I've got $3,000, tomorrow I've got $500. I can't live like that. So our entire system as it stands right now, as a Patreon clone, is stablecoin. Tether, USDC, and DAI. You can use only those three to set up your projects and pay. We've got a swap interface built in if you have Matic or something else, but it's really important to us to get the trust of creators and artists who need this as real world money for them. Like, they put their art into the world, and they need it to be $5, and they need to have $5 at the end of the month to buy groceries. So our interface at BackedBy is stablecoin only for that reason.
And how many creators do you have signed up right now on your platform?
We're brand new. I think we've got about 20, and I think we've got a combined total of about $3,000 in monthly recurring revenue, which is not bad. But obviously we'd love more. I think in the newbie crypto world, people are gun shy about getting in, but it's unstoppable. The financial censorship is going to get worse. The fees are going to get higher. I think what we're bringing to the table is an evolution in the passion economy.
Well, and I agree. I do think this is a really good concept. I guess my question is, who are the team members? Who's building this? Like, what's the marketing plan? Like, how will you get from 3,000 a month to 300,000
Sure.
or higher?
So I've been podcasting for 10 years. I'm going to reach out to my network of friends and get them on. The marketing plan is slow and steady. It is a very big ask to get creators to leave platforms for a new one or to try new ones out.
Sure.
The marketing plan is going to be word of mouth through me and others. We're also going to be releasing a Gumroad competitor and a Kickstarter competitor in the next couple months. So the buy-in for something like a Gumroad, where they're one-off purchases, I think will be a little bit easier for people than recurring revenue. So that'll be kind of like the first taste. Dip your toe into Web3 and see how easy it is before you commit to moving your entire platform over there. But it's going to be new creators and word of mouth. It's a very big ask to get new people on. To get degens to go from one platform to another, that's a piece of cake. But to get people to move their livelihood over, that's big.
And how do you plan on making money? What's your economic model with your project?
We take a percentage of every subscription, so every renewal, which is I think standard for everybody else for Patreon only fans. We take a much lower percentage than them, and a lot of it's voluntary. I think that is going to be a major driver too. OnlyFans takes like 25% of your money, 22%. Locals takes 12. Patreon takes up to 15. We take the default is set at 5. You can give as low as 1. People can give whatever they want, but our monetization model is percentage, and it is lower no matter how you slice it than any of the other competitors.
And do you have a token?
We do have a token. We haven't launched it yet, but we do have a token. We're figuring out if we should launch it on Polygon or ETH.
And how will that tie in?
So that'll be a utility token. We don't have a forced tokenomics scheme on our project. Again, with trying to earn people's trust in crypto, it'll be a governance token, and we think that these platforms should be owned by creators, since creators build them. They should be partially owned by creators. So as our revenue ramps up, we're going to give a pro rata share. We've got 10% of the tokens marked for creators on the platform, and we're going to distribute them among the creators. But otherwise, we've got it's a pretty normal distribution for founders and developers, like 20%, and then marketing, we've got another 30%, the treasury and investing, stuff like that.
Anything with NFTs, because I could see a use case here with like a membership pass or something.
Yeah. So here's the interesting collision of what we're doing in kind of traditional Web 2. Shopify has an NFT coupon ticketing system. So for artists, ticketing as NFTs is just so much easier than the traditional database QR code. Like, how do I sell this ticket to somebody else? A major feature we're going to add is a built-in NFT factory that'll let you do merch, coupons, ticketing, and that will all interface with what Shopify already has. So connecting the Web3 world to MeetSpace via Shopify plugins is something we're going to roll out soon.
Cool.
Cool.
Do you have a roadmap for some of the things that you have just talked about? Like this?
I do. Next, we're working on the NFT Shopify setup that I mentioned. We've got Kickstarter. We want to do low-hanging fruit, like Kickstarter clone, OnlyFans clone, and then a Super Chat clone. Like these are the services streamers and creators use that big companies are taking gigantic cuts of, and they don't deserve it. They're just running a computer somewhere. It's your audience. You deserve that money. So that's step one. And then ERC20 integration. So you can throw meme coins into the mix, probably some kind of Oracle. So you still get paid in real money. And then after that, we'd like to move into the B2C space. So if you want to set up a coffee subscription on your website, but you want it to handle crypto automatically, you could use us. You could set up a little widget like you would now on Stripe or PayPal or something like that. And you'd come to BackedBy, you'd set up your business, and you would use our widget to power as your point of sale for your coffee business. As I said, that's a $1.5 trillion industry. So
I mean, let me just ask you this, and this goes back to what Brian was asking about marketing. I mean, some of these creators, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, despite the fees, on Patreon or OnlyFans or Locals, whatever. How do you plan on, I know that your pitch is, yes, this is decentralized, and yes, you get to own it. You don't have to worry about being shut down, and the fees are lower. But for some of these guys, they may not care. And why would they risk switching to your platform when they're already making so much? Like, what is your strategy? Is there like an in-between or something else that makes the transition easier?
Yeah. It's a very nuanced question because I've been doing it for so long and I know a lot of these guys very well. It's very difficult for them to recommend something that they don't understand. They understand traditional Patreon Locals. They understand that model, but because they don't understand the blockchain, it's hard for them to get behind, I think. There's also this notion of platform fatigue. As we move into, I think, the next couple of years, the fees are going to go up and the restrictions are going to get more severe. We're already seeing it happening. We're going to have companies fold and companies charge. Just the idea of paying 25% when you could be paying 5% is going to start whittling away at these companies, in my opinion. The idea of possibly losing your entire audience because one of these companies goes under because it couldn't meet investor expectations or it just couldn't afford to keep the servers online. These are going to compound into driving people into Web3. I think it's all tied into this idea that Web3 is the future, right? Which it is. Like, we're believers in, but the reason is because as infrastructure, Web3 is more efficient. Everything that's done on Web3 is better. And all of this buy-in by us, like as people who are already in, is contingent on that fact. Like, it's a difficult question because I think they're going to come in a wave. It's not like you're selling a better phone to somebody and say, you like your phone, this is slightly better features. It's an entire infrastructure. It's an entire infrastructure replacement. So I think it's going to happen gradually, and those are going to be the drivers of it. The best thing we can do is make our product as imperceptible on the surface as what they're currently using. So we have things like email login, use your credit card. Everything is devoid of the kind of the blockchain, the in-your-face blockchain terminology that you would have seen 2-3 years ago. It's not a good answer, but I think it's a realistic one.
I mean, it's a real yes. I mean, that's like a 10,000-foot kind of answer.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there. You look at what Rumble did, right, with YouTube. They went after the people that were banned specifically, and a lot of them converted because they had nowhere else to go, and then other people paid attention, right? I was expecting you kind of to give that answer, like, hey, these content creators that are huge, maybe they did get banned. Then we could bring them aboard, right?
Yeah, Rumble's got $100 million to throw around. Rumble's putting big money into these contracts, and I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's smart. They're giving out they're paying money essentially for audience capture, and I mean, in my opinion, I've seen companies try that before. I don't think that's how you do it. I think you've got to earn it organically. We also don't have $100 million to throw around. But yeah, the band guys, they're definitely the ones to go after.
Brian, anything else?
I think I'm out of questions. No, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Back.by. Check us out.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll have your website link in the description. Anyone watching this right now, if you're interested in learning more, head over to the website. Thanks for joining us again, Dax.
Yep. See you guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Have a good morning.
All right.
All right.
So
what do you think?
I like the premise. I really do. I mean, I like it. I like projects where you can summarize really easily. And this is a decentralized Patreon. Very easy to understand right away, especially for content creators. I like how you can just explain it right away. And I do like the fact that this is built on Polygon. So it's utilizing smart contracts. And I like what he said about, trying to incentivize creators to move over because it's cheaper. And if you believe in decentralization and, not having a centralized entity being able to shut you down, if you get those things, then yes, I think this is a big project that can do a big idea project that could do well. However, I think you hit it on the head with security concerns. I think people are going to be very, I don't think they're going to like the idea where, the smart contract basically, enables a wallet withdrawal, right? And that's like very anti-crypto.
Yeah.
What
yeah. I was in the merchant. I was in the, I was in various businesses that used merchant processing, e-commerce, SaaS products. And this was a common issue with subscriptions. And so one of the other possible pain points that maybe he didn't realize is the processing itself can be very difficult. Yeah, Patreon and those exist now, but for certain businesses, e-commerce specifically, if you hit a certain number of chargebacks, and this applies to any business, they'll shut you down immediately. So I think he missed some of the pain points. But yeah, I think, well, conceptually, I really like it, right? I think conceptually it could work. I think the problem is you have to find a niche that people are willing to jump through the hoops to do this, to keep crypto in their wallets. And then also it's going to make sense economically for the business owners to want to use this model at the risk of people not refilling their wallets. I understand the credit card analogy, but I think this is a little bit different. Security concerns and also the marketing strategy to me just wasn't really there. I think that I think it's a really good novel idea. I think it may work in certain minimum circumstances. I don't know. I don't see it being a big enough pain point right now for me to want to invest in.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. Me personally, I don't know. Dax said he's a content creator himself. I don't know what kind of sway he has, what kind of friends he has. But
let me ask you, just to cut you off for a second. Let me ask you. So I know you, and I'm like, George, you've got XYZ business, you have Patreon. Switch over because you know me, right? You're not going to turn down, hundreds of thousands a month or more, whatever the amount is, just to use this kind of novel platform, right?
Yeah, I agree, except for the controversial people. That's why I brought up Rumble.
True.
And for YouTubers, influencers, people are afraid to get canceled by like YouTube or whatever streaming platform, right? And I'm sure some controversial figures are also the same way about Patreon. Actually, in fact, we heard Patreon cancel a few people's accounts. I can't think of the specific example, but I remember hearing about that. So that's why I asked about that strategy, because I would say some people will be forced to change because they have no other way of doing something like this. And especially if you get someone that's really big that people follow, that can spur a lot of like people to come in. But I agree with you. If it's like a normal folk, someone that's perfectly fine, it's really hard for them to switch from Patreon because it's already set in stone and it just works every month, to convert to something new, right? Yeah, I agree with you. That's going to be a very hard conversion. Just like convincing someone to get off of YouTube to go to some other streaming platform, even if they offer lower fees, YouTube is the biggest and it's there. Like, it's really hard to make that switch.
Yeah, and also kind of gray area businesses that, can't really get a platform somewhere else, maybe even crypto, maybe even certain crypto things itself. If it's, in some kind of regulatory gray area, I could see using this because it's decentralized, right?
Right.
But yeah, I agree. I think if you're established somewhere else that's working, you're not going to probably switch over unless you have a really strong pain point and reason to do that. And they just didn't have an good enough answer of how they were going to get people otherwise for me.
Yeah. And then the last point I want to make is I feel like Dax, he mentioned, I asked about the roadmap. He mentioned like all these things he wants to do, right? Very ambitious things to kind of draw in, all these different kind of categories into what he wants to do, which I think he may be, it's going to be a challenge, and it may
Yeah.
take his focus away from just really building the core, which is to get all the content creators to come aboard and utilize the decentralized Patreon. So, I mean, for me, I'm going to say pass for now, but I will say this. I like the concept. I think this is what Web3 is about, moving Web2 stuff to Web3. So I really like the concept. I think they're just too early. Now, if you would have told me that they had like 1,000 content creators on here already, and they're processing millions of $1 million worth of transactions per month, then it's a different story, right? But now they're
Yeah.
so early, we don't know if they can get any network effect, any network traction. That's why I'm agreeing with you with pass, but I'd like to certainly keep my eyes on them in the future and see if they do pick up.
Likewise, I think I'm with you there on the past, but conceptually, I really like it. I don't know if content creators is even the right niche. Maybe it's e-commerce, or maybe it's some other gray area regulatory issue business that has struggles. I think you need stronger pain points. I just don't think content creators currently have the strongest pain points. And to what we were talking about with Rumble, people are paying out lots of money to bring people over to other platforms. So why are they going to come to this when there's more roadblocks to get people on board, unless they have an audience that's entirely in crypto, perhaps?
Yep, fair points. Fair points.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to another episode of FOMO or Pass. We will continue to invite promising new early stage projects like this every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye. All right. So I'm going to stop recording.